So before we begin, I just want to let you guys know that I purposely keep these slides simple, the videos short, and the information concise and impactful. I don't put filler in these slides, or just talk to talk, other than being detail-oriented and giving you information to use that can be applied right away. These are not generic videos on personal finance like many others out there. I'm giving you tips and strategies that anyone can use to increase their financial standing and build more wealth over time. I don't believe in a need for fancy graphics or animations, since finance is really simple and anyone can master it in a short time. And as they say, time is money, so let's dive right in. So what is a debit card? As many of you probably know, it's simply a plastic card that is issued to you when you open a checking account at your primary bank. It's just a convenient way to pay for items where money is directly deducted from your checking account every time you swipe the debit card to pay for something. And at the top right, you can see one right there. It says debit on it, clearly. Now, as I've mentioned, your debit card is linked to your checking account. So for a refresher, what is a checking account? Your checking account is simply you deposit most of your checks from work, from birthdays, etc. It's also where you deduct money to pay bills, write checks to pay for your rent, or take out cash for the weekend. Now, rules to becoming wealthy. Rule number 1, you should only keep enough cash in your checking account to pay your bills from month to month. You should not be saving money in your checking account because it's not earning any interest. If you have a ton of money just sitting in your checking account right now, please move it out to a savings account at least, where you're earning at least some interest. If you know roughly how much you spend each month on living expenses, well, just keep that much in there and put any excess into a savings account so that you're constantly earning interest. Now, we're going to talk more about this in Lesson 4 on saving and investing, but everything that I'm telling you now will tie together at the end. Now, quick tip out there for the younger kids watching. If you're under 18, you can't get a debit card by yourself. You can only have a debit card to yourself if you're over 18. It's just how bank laws work. Now, you could get a checking account with your parents, and they'll get a debit card too with access to your account, but you better be sure that they won't use your card to buy things from your account. So as I've said, the debit card, it just mirrors whatever the balance is in your checking account. So for an easy example, if you have $100 right now in your checking account, well, you guessed it, the debit card's also going to report 100. The debit card mirrors the balance in your checking account. Now, rule number 2 is that you should always know how much money you have in your bank at any given time. This is important so you don't actually get denied at the register when you go and buy something because you don't have any money left in your account. It is so important to know how much money is in your bank at any given time. You should be a living and breathing financial genius over your account if you're that serious about them. All right, so let's move on to the next online checking account example. Told you guys I was going to show you detail, and this is where we're at. Now, I just want to show you what my checking account looks like, and that is linked to my debit card, as I've said. The balance at the top at this point in time, 2127, is how much my debit card will report if I went to the store and I swipe and it deducted. Now, I blacked out some words and IDs here because those are mine, you don't need to see them. But what I want you to focus on is the types of expenses I have on my debit card. You won't see any expenses on restaurants, movies, Netflix, Amazon. Those day-to-day living expenses and purchases are not being made with a debit card. I would be crazy to do that. I will explain why in a second. The only expenses I'm having with my debit card, once again, which is linked to my checking account, as you can see, is that I'm taking out some cash here and there, paying off my student loans, paying my credit card bill, transferring money to savings, and receiving my paycheck. That is all I am doing with my checking account. Now, here's what I wanted to tell you about your debit card. This is huge and is the foundation for the rest of the videos and your financial wealth going forward. You should only be using a debit card to pay for credit card bills, student loan bills, car payments, rent, mortgage, or other bank loans. You should never use a debit card to pay for anything else other than that. For example, you should never use a debit card to pay for food, gas, hotel, phone bill, movies, Netflix, Amazon. All these living expenses and purchases should never be paid for with a debit card. If you have been doing that, you've been using your debit card wrong all along. And you should change your habits to start using a credit card to pay for those daily expenses. If you want to maintain exceptional financial record that the banks will notice, you're going to have to put expenses on a credit card, pay them back, and prove to the bank that you can borrow money from them, pay it back. And I'm telling you, you will be rewarded for this down the line. Don't think this is all for nothing. And we're going to get into that, so don't worry. Now, why should you not be using a debit card? I'm going to explain why. And there are a couple of reasons. Number one is that you aren't building up a credit score or a history of good financial behavior when you use a debit card. You can only build a financial history and increase your credit score when you use a credit card to purchase items. When you swipe a credit card to pay for a daily expense and then pay that bill that is due at the end of the month for all those expenses, then you'll be building a credit score. You should start doing this as soon as possible and as young as possible. But we'll be getting more into this in a second, so stay tuned. A second reason is that you are exposing yourself to hackers to steal money right from your bank account when you use a debit card. Money can be taken by someone on the other side of the earth from your account. When you input your debit card information online or swipe at a merchant, you are sending out financial information about your checking account. The account where you deposit your paycheck from work and in which your life really depends. If money is stolen from your checking account by a hacker, or if a fraudulent charge occurs, yes, the banks may refund your money in full for the stolen funds, but you have to call them up, tell them what happened, stress out, and it may take a couple days to actually get your money. If your checking account was wiped out, could you go 3 days or more without money to eat or pay rent? You get my point. This is why you should be using a credit card to pay for those things, because if there's a fraudulent charge on there, then it's the bank's money that is lost, not yours. Now, you won't be losing sleep because your account was wiped out. Let the bank lose sleep over it. Now, third and lastly, when money is constantly being drained from your checking account when you're using a debit card for everyday expenses, it means you're earning less and less interest if you are trying to invest that money, in which you should be. So a key rule to remember here is that you should delay paying your bills as long as possible, but not paying them late. You want to keep as much money on hand in your account as possible for as long as you can so that you're earning maximum interest. The less money you have on hand is the less interest you're earning. Now we're going to get more into this in the fourth lecture, so just stay tuned. I know you have questions, but I designed all these lectures to piece together. So I assure you, by the end of all these sessions, which they aren't that long to begin with, they're about under an hour, everything I'm saying is going to make sense. Okay, so that sums up Lesson 1 on debit cards. Now, there's plenty of information to take away here, and for some of you, your head may be spinning, and you may have lots of questions. Luckily, I keep these videos short, concise, packed with good information. I suggest you do the quizzes and watch the remaining videos, and then you'll understand everything I have said. I keep these videos short and sweet to be mindful of your time. Once you finish them all, you're going to be those personal financial experts. So good luck.